I'm a systems engineer with Palo Alto Networks based in Arizona. The topic of conversation today is advanced persistent threats and how you can detect and prevent them. So with that, there we go. So what's changed in the security landscape? We've gone in the last 25 years or so from a landscape that was based on relatively unsophisticated individuals, sometimes referred to as script kiddies, or these are people that are just interested in can they hack into a system. They really have no ultimate end goal. To today, cybercrime is estimated to be over $1 trillion industry worldwide, with large organized criminal enterprises as well as nation states involved. So with substantial financial incentive, this is not going to go away. It's actually going to be getting worse. Okay. So what else has changed about this? We've gone from, if you notice as this builds, we've gone from at the lower level known threats. So these are the traditional solutions to security, looking for antivirus signatures, looking for IPS signatures, looking for application threats based on ports and protocols. So that we've been doing for quite some time. We understand how to do all that. But as you progress up that stack, we have an increasing risk to your enterprise, and it now extends beyond your network into cloud services, mobile devices, and so the evolution of the attack has significantly expanded. So again, just to add to that, so the changing face of security, we've been able to block known bad traffic and then pass all the rest. That's where the vast majority of security solutions and enterprise mindsets are. They're looking to just block the bad stuff. The problem is we need to understand what the unknown is. And so that's where I don't know what I don't know. And so what I need to do is investigate and analyze this unknown traffic, define it as either known good or known bad, and then apply the appropriate policy, and do this on an ongoing basis. This is not a static event. This is an ongoing process. This is the traditional solution. It's where you as the security professional get to purchase a bunch of different products from different organizations, and you get to play systems integrator, make all this stuff play together relatively well. But the big challenge is over here on the right-hand side. What do I do with this? Now I have these security devices that are a bunch of yapping chihuahuas, and I don't have actionable information. What do I need to take care of right now? What can wait? And so I have to try to make sense of this. And on top of that, so that's a relatively limited visibility of these solutions. They lack correlation. So if you notice, I've got these various components here. I've got an APT solution for email. I've got a separate one for web traffic. I've got another one for cloud services, DNS protection. And so the problem is there's no correlation between these two, or between any of these. So I get a bunch of alerts, but there's no ability to apply correlation logic, and more importantly, to be able to apply a cohesive policy across all these, because there's no sharing of context. And then lastly, it's a manual response. There's two different mindsets or models in the security space. One is, bad things are going to happen. We just need to find them and then go do remediation. I would argue that's not the right solution. The right solution is to actually identify these potential threats and provide protection proactively. If you think just the most recent Anthem hack last week, they may have divulged as many as 80 million of their subscribers' personal information, details, addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, enough information that criminals could use to open credit in any of those subscribers' names. So if you take the remediation approach, well, those 80 million subscribers' information are out of your control. What do you do now? So I would argue remediation is not the right approach. It's being able to identify and provide protection in a meaningful way is the only way that you can realistically secure your enterprise. So the common threats of all of these breaches that we've seen is they've all been using port-based firewalls. So they assume that TCP port 80 is always HTTP. But what they fail to recognize is BitTorrent will use that, Skype will use that, and then any sort of non-standard application is going to be completely blind to a port-based firewall. The second is that they've had IPS, intrusion prevention solutions. The problem is they're static. And so they've got static signatures. They make assumptions, again, where traffic is on the network and look to apply those IPS signatures on those statically defined services. And then, again, so they're going to miss a lot of that traffic. The next thing that happens, so the first, they come through the port-based firewall. They are able to use an exploit against something inside of the network that gets missed by the static IPS. And then the next step that they have to do is deliver malware to the endpoint to get a foothold in the network. And so zero-day malware is really where the beginning of the control from the cyber criminals takes place. So being able to identify zero-day malware and provide automatic protection against that as well. User identity credentials. So again, back to the Anthem hack last week, it's believed that a database administrator's security credentials were compromised, and so that was the foothold once they were able to get into the network to actually exfiltrate their subscriber database. And then lastly, the point that I run into most often is the lack of concern about lateral movement inside the network. So usually the conversation goes, well, this is just a printer on my network, so I don't really care about that. I don't need to provide protection because if they compromise that printer, they can't get anything anyways, which is absolutely the wrong mindset. For example, many HP printers run an embedded version of Linux. So we've seen several Linux vulnerabilities over the last few months. So if I can compromise your HP printer using one of those exploits, I now have a foothold inside of your network, and I can use that to pivot and move laterally within your network. And every single one of these high-profile breaches over the last few years, every one of them have involved lateral movement. So being able to provide network segmentation, both on layer 3 subnet, but maybe more importantly is being able to segment the network logically based on users' identity and group membership. So as part of Palo Alto's solution, we have a service that's called Wildfire. It's a zero-day malware detection. What I think is interesting is some of the statistics that we've seen here. 6% of all files that are sent to Wildfire for analysis are identified as being malware. We identify a new, unique sample of malware every 3 seconds. It's something like 50,000 unique samples every week out of 1.2 million that are submitted every day. The other thing that's interesting is, let's see, 89% or 88% are Windows portable executables. So that still continues to represent the largest issues. And what's, again, continues to surprise me is how many organizations' security policy permits the transiting of Windows portable executables across not only the internet boundary, but even the data center perimeter and elsewhere inside of the network, when that actually represents the largest threat of malware. So the requirements for a successful security architecture is to provide controls at each of these points in the network. So mobile devices, the internet edge, everybody understands that. That's kind of where firewall started. But now being able to provide segmentation between devices inside of the network. Engineering folks should be doing certain things, salespeople, others, human resources, yet others, and there should not be any really cross of applications across those boundaries. So they're pretty well defined within most organizations, but very few actually inspect that traffic and apply policy based on the user's identity. I would argue the new network perimeter is the data center. Because that's where most organizations' critical assets are in the data center. And so what we really need to do is provide visibility and protection at the data center edge to protect, again, all these critical assets. And then lastly is being able to do similar across private and public or hybrid clouds. So there's this concept in security of a kill chain. And it's 4 or 5 steps, and the cyber criminals, to be successful, they have to execute all 4 or 5 of these steps to be successful. We, on the other hand, all we have to do is prevent one of those, and we've prevented them. So the first is to breach the perimeter of the network. So there's multiple control points in a Palo Alto Networks solution. Obviously, at the internet perimeter is providing visibility, including inside of SSL traffic, permitting just business critical applications, blocking high-risk applications, for example, threat inspection, URL filtering, being able to tie our zero-day malware intelligence into URL filtering categories. So, for example, this has happened several times. Third-party ad networks on popular websites, they don't vet the content that they get from the third parties that are doing the advertising. So the malware guys have been serving up malware via third-party ad networks. We can respond in real time and provide URL filtering updates to provide automatic protection when those type of events take place. And then lastly is Wildfire. That's our zero-day malware inspection, where within 3 to 5 minutes of first seeing a new sample anywhere in the globe, we provide a malicious versus benign result. And then for the ones that have a malicious determination, within 15 minutes we push updated signatures to all Palo Alto subscribers. So that's the first link in the kill chain. The second is to actually deliver the malware. And so again, Wildfire plays a role here in terms of identifying and preventing malware from crossing both the internet perimeter, data center perimeter, internal segmentation. And then to make the solution complete, we have Traps, which is our endpoint solution, which identifies exploitation techniques without any signatures and provides protection against all zero-day malware. So it's both a combination of network as well as endpoint. The third is lateral movement. So now I've compromised a machine in the network, I've established a persistent connection, and now I can move laterally inside the network. So again, this is where being able to provide both physical network as well as logical network segmentation internally, as well as global protect for mobile devices that may be in and out of the organization's network, as well as Wildfire, to be able to see potentially malware moving laterally inside the network. And then the last one is exfiltrating the data. It may be credit card numbers, maybe healthcare records. In the Sony hack, they actually set up an internal BitTorrent server and were distributing via Sony's own internal servers BitTorrent copies of those unreleased movies. So we need to be able to identify that potential data that's being exfiltrated. Another common one that folks don't understand the potential risk is DNS. It's very easy for me to send DNS queries outside of the network and exfiltrate data. So even things like DNS should only be coming from DNS servers, not from the regular endpoints inside of the enterprise. So again, the bad guys have to execute all 4 of these, and all we have to do is be able to provide prevention at any one of them to eliminate this malware kill chain. So requirements for security in the current threat landscape is application-based security policy. So this is true application-based. So for example, WebEx to a Palo Alto firewall is actually 6 different applications. It's whether a user can attend to WebEx, can they share the desktop, can they do whiteboarding, can they do chat, can they do file transfer. So those are actually application functions, if you will, and we can control at very fine-grained control of those application use cases. Policy-based user identity and user groups. So again, this is being able to tie end users' ability to use applications, transfer file types based on their role and their identity inside the organization. The third piece is Wildfire, and again, this is about detecting as quickly as possible and providing automatic protection for newly discovered malware. And then the traditional threat prevention, it's intrusion prevention, antivirus, spyware, command and control traffic, and then lastly is URL filtering. So it really is a comprehensive security solution. And this sort of visually demonstrates the same thing. So we have down here, we have the network-based firewall, we have the endpoint protection, and then we have the threat cloud of Wildfire. And all of this intelligence is shared across every point in the Palo Alto Networks security platform. So if the firewall determines there's malware found, we share that information with the endpoint protection. If the endpoint protection discovers an application trying to exploit an endpoint, we share that with the firewall. And so it truly is a platform-based security that encompasses the network. And when I say network, that's public cloud, that's private cloud, it's data center, it's internet perimeter, it's all things network, including mobile, and then the advanced endpoint protection as well. And then this representing the communication between them. Questions?
Thank you so much, Steve. Great information. At this point, we'll open up the session for Q&A. We do have actually one question on SSL, Steve. It says, SSL is becoming a larger percentage of network traffic. How do you handle APTs over SSL?
That's a really good question. So I would agree that in the average enterprise, we see about 40% of all the network traffic is SSL, and over 80% of all the web traffic is SSL. So that's a huge opaque blob in most organizations. So with Palo Alto Networks, we do SSL decryption natively on the box. We don't require third-party solutions as some of our competitors do. And so we then provide both a copy of that decrypted SSL traffic to a network port, if you wish, but we also, once we do SSL decryption, we then provide the full visibility in terms of all the threat detection, all the malware potentially being transported, and so you get full visibility and policy control.
Great, thank you. One other question, how do I protect mobile devices from advanced persistent threats?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question, and as the endpoints, as globally, we see this less in the U.S., but certainly globally, mobile devices are the de facto standard now. So any enterprise that does not have a solution to address mobile devices is leaving themselves open to substantial risk. So with Palo Alto, we provide Global Protect, which is it's both an endpoint provisioning, in terms of configuration, but more importantly, it's inspection of all the traffic, enforcing policy. We can even show you whether iOS devices have been jailbroken, Android devices have been rooted, and then you can provide policy controls based on that.
Great, thank you for that. Again, if you have any questions at this point, we have time for a couple of more. You can post your questions in the questions pane, and either Steve or Chris from cStor can answer. It looks like one more question. This one looks key, probably for Steve. We're moving more and more of our workloads to the cloud. How does Palo Alto handle cloud services?
Yeah. So that's a trend we're seeing for various reasons. Usually it's financial, but it's also flexibility of the organization to be able to respond to the business needs. So today we support VMware's both public and private cloud, as well as Amazon Web Services. So the nice thing about these cloud is it is easy to provision new services. The problem is how do I secure them? And so Palo Alto has virtual firewalls in KVM, AWS, as well as VMware, and we provide all the same functionality that we talked about to and from your cloud services, but more importantly, even inside. So I can provide segmentation between AWS instances and provide policy enforcement and visibility. And so that's our solution for cloud services.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And at this time, we don't have any additional questions, so I will pass it back over to Chris for a couple of additional follow-ups. Thank you again for everyone attending. Chris?
Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate the presentation. Very good information. And everybody, if the information presented and the value proposition isn't impactful enough, we as an organization will give you a $50 Visa gift card if you schedule a meeting with us in the near future. So you see on the screen right here some rules to the game. Please schedule the appointment with us before the end of March, and you can reach out to me directly, and we'll get you in contact with the right person across the geographies that we work. Again, our offices in Nevada, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and of course Arizona. And also a commercial for upcoming webinars to look for. Coming up starting in March, we're going to be very cloud focused. And as you can see, some of the different presentations and webinars we're going to have: FlexPod for private cloud, which cloud is for you, backup, and DR utilizing the public cloud. These will be available for you to register on our website in the very near future if they're not already. So please do check back at our website. And we look forward to seeing you on future webinars. We greatly appreciate the time you took to join us today, and we look forward to meeting with you. As I hope you've derived from our presentation today, together with cStor and Palo Alto, we can not only help you build out and advance the business and the data center and cloud and automation, but also help you protect it. As Steve said, the new perimeter is the data center, and I think we are uniquely positioned to help you with that. So please do reach out with us. We look forward to having conversations with you, and have a great day. Thank you very much.
That